May 12th, 2025. How's it going, guys? I got another video for you. And what are we going to talk about? Kansas City, Independence, Missouri. We're going to talk about crime. We're going to talk about drugs. And we're going to talk about the homeless. So let's just get right with it this morning here. I'm heading out 40 Highway, passing that Gordman'S and Toys R Us parking lot. Right off the bat, I see two vans sitting over in the Gordman'S parking lot. Over in the Toys R Us parking lot, there's several vehicles. There's a pickup truck over there that I want to talk about here in a second. But there's another pickup truck with a trailer that's sitting in the Hardee's parking lot. And this guy, he's been around here now almost 5 years. First, he was living out of the Walmart parking lot. Then he went down to Bass Pro and lived out of the Bass Pro parking lot. And then he was down here at the end of Waterfall Park, where Bass Pro is, out there where the park is. And now he's at the Hardee's. And 5 years? This guy hasn't been able to find nothing in 5 years. That's interesting. And that doesn't say much about Kansas City either. I mean, one way or the other. But letting these people just kind of thrive in these areas where, it's drug infested and stuff like that. And these parking lots are bad for that. So I'm going to show that real quick. I'm going to show that vehicle, that truck that he's driving the trailer. But I'm going to show this other truck. I want to talk about it in a minute. But let's get on with this real quick. Okay, guys. Now this is that truck and trailer. This truck used to have a trailer, I guess what do you call them? The ones that go on the top of the truck. That's what he was living out of first. Now he's got a pull-around trailer. And it's been going on for 5 years. This guy lived out of a Walmart parking lot. He looked like he was trying to work on generators. And then he was up at Bass Pro for a long time. 5 years. I mean, this has been since the pandemic. And this is very strange. The only reason I know more about this is because there's a house up the street from me where other people moved in. It's called they fly a flag that says the God's flag. But this guy, he was living in this house next door to him. It looked like I don't know if this house is vacant or whatever. And weird stuff. Weird, strange stuff. And this is Independence here. This is Independence, Missouri. But I'm going to show this guy this morning. He was, like I say, he was pulling out up there by the Hardee's. He was going back in that parking lot. But I'm going to go back over here for a second. I want you guys to see this other pickup truck. Now, what amazes me, there's an old guy in this pickup truck here, okay? Looks like kind of old biker. And I had a friend. He lived out in Lee Summit. Back when I was in school, I had a couple years vocational training in automotive, and all school districts sent guys. You had to pass like an ASVAB, Armed Services Aptitude Test, and you had to be at the very top to get in, like a vocational school. You couldn't just, squeeze in or anything. But this guy that I became friends with, it was out Lee Summit. He was an old country boy. And he drove I think it was an Impala, mid-60s Impala. And it was a 6-banger with a 3-speed on the column. And he had a lot of relatives that lived further out down in the country down there, like by Lone Jack and all those other places. And man, he said, some of those places you don't want to go in. He said they're, some of those ex-cons and other different things. Well, I already knew that because my father that ran 11 convenience stores and a filling station, see, he had to get all these guys that my father hired in, they had to go and get a lie detector test and see if they'd been in trouble and stuff. And a lot of these guys, some of them that he would catch on and off, came out of those areas. But the thing of it was, this truck this morning really caught my eye because guess what? Man, the ass back into this truck was completely covered in dirt. And you couldn't see the license plate. And it reminded me something, like I say, this guy I went to school with talked about how like they would run like drugs down there in Lee Summit and like down by Greenwood, Lone Jack, Harrisonville, and stuff like that. And I'm thinking here this morning, you got this kind of like, looks kind of like a biker, older guy, was at least an older guy, and it looked like one, and sitting in this truck. What better way where if you were going to make a drop or a deal and sell some stuff, what better place than that? Well, this bed sure don't have nothing in it now, does it? At one time, this place up here, they had all those people going up there, and they were having their, like, swap and shop. I don't see how Independence sanctioned that in a vacant parking lot, letting them have a swap and shop and stuff, but I guess that's Independence on this part. But this truck here, something that police probably need to be kind of taking a look at. And I'm going to show that from another side here, but hold on. All right, guys, I'm going to start with the first guy here. It's been floating around for 5 years up here, and it's up at Hardy's parking lot now. But you guys to watch this, and you can see that truck. And if you look real close, you can see the trailer that he's pulling. Now, this is what my dash cam caught this morning. You can see that trailer back behind it there. He was coming out of that Hardy's parking lot. We'll do this one more time. But it makes you wonder what these guys do. Because, like, this vehicle goes up there. He's affiliated with that God's house. Suppose that guy, he's got some guys who work for him, does cleaning and stuff. Well, yeah, it might be fine and dandy, but if he's working for this guy, he sure hasn't been able to establish anything. He hasn't been able to get any place where he can live actually solid for 5 years. I don't know. So hold on. Now, this is one of the vans that was over at Gordman's this morning. I pulled in that bank parking lot over there, and I wanted to see what was going on. And I seen this white other van that I think he crossed over. Now, if they're not doing, what are they running back and forth in between these places? Now, I have seen Independence Works or whatever they are, I guess for the city. Sometimes they go up there. They're usually in a white pickup truck or a white van. But this thing looked like it was even smashed over on the front end. Now, like I say, it didn't look like it was Independence vehicle. Usually theirs look, But this looked kind of weird here. But what are they running? I mean, how can they be running this 24/7 here in Independence in Kansas City, Missouri? Me and my friend, when we were talking last night, I got a real good black friend here. Me and him went all the way through school together. And he was telling me, he said, for crime, Kansas City is now rated number 6 in the whole United States for crime. Nothing to be proud of. Definitely not. But hold on. Okay, so what you're seeing there is that truck, which is over here. That's the same vehicle, just from a different angle. But I wanted to show that when I pulled it up there at that bank this morning. And very interesting. But, you'd have to be moving a lot, wouldn't you? I mean, how many drugs? I mean, what would it take? How much money could you be making? $10,000? $20,000? How many pills would it take? And what better? I mean, you get these bikers, these guys that are 60, even 65 years old. It don't matter what age you are. I mean, and you are moving that stuff, transporting it back and forth. See, that's what I look at. And I'm thinking, something Independence needs to be looking at. This is something that still needs to be looked at. I mean, this guy wasn't a construction guy. He wasn't working on anything. Nothing in his bed back there. But he was sitting there waiting for a contact. A contact for what? Yeah, that's a good, I don't know. All right, so here's the back of the truck. This is about as good as pictures I could get. But back here, this thing is covered just like, you couldn't have took any more if you took shovels of dust and thrown it up on the back. And I was just thinking, like I say, about my friend who was out there in Lee Summit. that drove that old Impala that had the 3-speed on the column, how he talked about how they would go down those old country roads and stuff and be hauling that different stuff. Not him, but what, word of mouth and what they knew from his relatives and stuff. And I was thinking, well, this guy's up here in the city and he's sitting in this parking lot with a whole back end covered. It's never a good sign if they're sitting like that. I mean, this is something back even in the 80s when the cops would see vehicles that had dirt all across them, like in the very back and covering the license plate all the way. It was something to, maybe take an extra look at and maybe check it out. There's another angle there too, guys. I don't know. But I don't know. I mean, if he's in law enforcement and you're doing your job, this would be one vehicle, definitely. And I'd definitely be looking at this and running those tags to see what you wipe the dirt off of because you couldn't even see them. All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up here, like I say, in a second. Oh, Swamp Monkey says, welcome to the jungle. A little bit more work needs to be done here in Kansas City. Oh, maybe a lot more work. And in Independence here. It was quiet last night, though, over off 23rd somewhat, which is a good thing. Anyway, guys, keep your eyes open. And keep your eyes open for homeless out there laying out in the middle of the street or on the interstates. Oh, my. Never back in the 80s would you ever seen that. But you know what kills me about all this? One other thing I'm going to say is my friend I went through school with, he always says, how like, you could get a ticket or get arrested if you were cruising Nolan Road. But they're letting these people stand at these corners. They're basically on stuff and shaking and they're panhandling, doing all that. That would have never went. Because what happened to these ordinances that said that you had to have a permit if you were going to, ask for money, like a charity? What happened to that? You mean did those just get wiped off the books here in Independence and Raytown and all that and stuff? I come back through Raytown a few days back, and there's a church group up there. It gets up at 63rd and Blue Ridge. But sometimes there's guys up there that will put a yellow jacket on, and they're not with the church. And they get up there. And I'm just thinking, I just don't believe all those ordinances got kicked out. I believe they could enforce these things, but I don't think they are enforcing them. And something's wrong. Anyway, guys, keep your eyes open and stay safe out there.